I started Merchant and Found in the beginning of 2018. I had a really lovely corporate career, but I think the time had come for me to do something else. And I'd always wanted to run my own business, and I've kind of dabbled in it before. And I was hugely lucky to be backed by a great friend of mine, and we decided to start selling vintage furniture. I have a lifetime, I'm not going to say how old I am, but I have a lifetime of running, quite big companies in terms of their buying team. So for Habitat, I looked after their whole team of people that, source and develop the product. And I did the same for Conran, for House of Fraser, and a couple of other companies. Basically, there's a team of people that put all the product together that you have in the shop, and we source it. And I have a 30 years experience in homewares, so I've dealt with all that, and I thought I was knowledgeable. I've dealt with Vitra and Cartel and all the big brands that people would know, and I've bought vintage for Conran and for other companies, and I just always love what I do, and I think it spiraled. I'm an old romantic in the sense that I've always restored cars. I'm always the first one to buy an old house, and I love saving things, and I'm not an environmental warrior in that sense, but I always, the quality of some of the old vintage things is amazing, and I just think I wanted to save it and the heritage and all of that, and it was my passion, I guess, yeah. The first thing I did was, I've got the original A3 piece of paper, cardboard, and I wrote down my business plan, and I wrote down what I thought was the stock that I needed, and I could dig it out, but it was like 200 chairs and 50 lights, and I worked out how much I thought that would cost, and that was the money I needed. So that was my very rough business plan. Then I need a warehouse, and I put all of that kind of stuff together. So I came here to Hook. I obviously used the power of Google, and I did a huge amount of research, and I found this little warehouse here. I'd never rented a warehouse before. I had no idea how much space I needed. I worked out we needed a truck to transport and move everything, and I rented a 3.5 tonner, and I played around with that. And then I thought, actually, no, look, if I'm going to not be big, but if I'm going to do what I need to do, I need a bigger truck. And I was like, okay, what's the next size up? So I got a 7.5 ton lorry. Then I had to get my HGV license to drive it. And nobody else at the time really had a 7.5 tonner. And it was like, am I crazy? What am I doing? I was in this horrible meeting with all these, amazing truck drivers, but like, what am I doing learning about a tachograph and European, working hours and all that kind of stuff? But yeah, that was just part of the process. And then I had to start sourcing products. So I had a lot of knowledge and I had some contacts, but I just got in my car and I traveled all over Europe. Literally, I must have driven, I probably drove 15, 20,000 miles all over Europe, just meeting people, seeing people, just finding out, negotiating, talking, and then I went back with the truck and a wodge of, cash, and did the business and started. I had some contacts and I had a lot of knowledge. I started at all the major fairs, so I went to Ardingly, Newark, the kind of typical fairs, and but I looked at it from a different perspective. So I'd meet the guy from Hungary because you go, you see him, you see that he's got a Hungarian number plate, you talk to him. Can we do business? What do you do? Look, I don't just want 10 chairs, I want 100. How does that work? I did the same at Kempton. And then, I met maybe some people that way. I had some other contacts. I went to all the major French fairs. I got stuck in a snowdrift, had to sleep in my van overnight, all that kind of madness. One of the worst moments was it took a long time to finalise the lease on the warehouse. And I'd already bought stock and it was coming, and I had to rent 20-foot containers. So I had at one stage, I think about 6 20-foot containers. I had to unload the lorry into 20-foot containers, and I'm not a spring chicken, all by myself. And I bought some really heavy things. It was, oh my God, how the hell do I do this? And, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, very just hands-on. You've got to. If, my family and friends, everyone was like, yeah, this is you. This is really you, and you're independent, and you found your niche, so do it. I found, I'm not knocking corporate life. I had an amazing time and I had an amazing career, and I was very lucky. But I found it hard not being the boss. So when you're a director on a board, it's great, but you're not the boss. We wanted to be big, but more than anything, we want to be a brand. We don't want to be an antique dealer. We want to be a homewares brand, and we said, let's test it. We'll see how we go, see if we've got it right. So for the first 2 years, we played with all sorts of things, and we made a couple of mistakes, fortunately not too big, and we gradually sort of honed it in. And obviously in the middle of that, COVID struck, tricky but also an opportunity for us. But after 2 years, we sat down, my partner and I, and we said, okay, we've got this right. We're selling. We've not really got too much wrong. Let's go for it. We ship a huge amount overseas. And our private customers, I think what probably, I don't know, unites them in the sense is they love and understand vintage. They love our photography. They love what we select. They love the quality and the way we make things better, and not restore, because I'm not a good one for that word, and we'll maybe come on to that. But we clean things, we sort them, and we make sure that when you open the box, you've got something that's really amazing. So that's a big thing for our private customers, and they love that, And I think our choice and availability, all that kind of stuff, is great. And then I think the thing that we do for we have a huge amount of really amazing, big corporate customers, from restaurant chains to hotels to cafes, etc. And we've shipped all over the world. Every week we're probably shipping 4 or 5 shipments to the States, somewhere else. We don't ship a lot to Europe because of Brexit, but we're getting around that in a moment. And I think the thing that they love about us is, as you can see, if you want 50 chairs for a restaurant in New York, we've got 50 chairs. We've got a choice of maybe 10 different types of chairs. We sell a huge amount of, yes, stacking, slightly metal chairs, but we also sell a huge amount of bentwood chairs that are really feminine and beautiful, and so it's that kind of combination. But I just thought there was that kind of niche. But I think because I come from a retail, I'm a retailer at the end of the day, and because I come from that, I've run shops and run businesses, so I like big things, big display pieces and things that go in a loft apartment, and I tended to focus on that. So here's a confession which I haven't said. My mother, bless her soul, was an antique dealer. So she was a BADA dealer, and she was a specialist in really, stunning Queen Anne furniture. So I grew up with that. When I was a teenager, I used to come on buying trips. I've done all of that. That market restores things, and that's a big thing. But for me, restoration is taking something almost back to what it was, and I don't want to do that. I believe that we're really proud of the journey that let's say any product, a chair, has gone through. So it's had knocks, it's had bumps, it's had cigarette burns, it's had graffiti on it, and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's part of it. And a wood mellows and ages and has that amazing colour. I've got a set of chairs at the moment that it's a tonnet set from, I think, the 20s. They've sat in the sun for 100 years, so they're all faded and dry, and that's what makes them special. So why would I, re-lacquer them or polish them? I wouldn't. So it's that beauty. So we clean things, but I like to say we get them ready for their second life. So I'm standing in front of chairs here, but if we sell a chair like this, we will check all the feet and replace. We'll try to keep the original ones, but we also now have a massive supply of little, the replacement ones, because if you have a lovely house and you buy those chairs and you put them on a wooden floor, you don't want your floor damaged. So we don't do much, but I think we do a lot, so that when someone gets it out of the box or gets it from our carrier, they go, oh yeah, that's really lovely. It looks vintage, which it is, but it doesn't look like a rusty old thing. My first thing, when I brought the truck back was, well, okay, I've got that rusty chair. How do I make it, and what would I want? So I had to learn, I'd probably spend a week mixing chemicals and potions and all sorts of stuff and learning, well, how do I get it right? And I think we have our own formula. We make our own products, so we make our own waxes. And then my team have taken it on, and we've learned different things, and we buy old feet and old screws, and now we have a massive library of old timbers where we need to patch something in and repair it. And we had a haberdashery cupboard the other day that was missing a special piece of brass. We had it cast specially. It was £400, which was ridiculous. I probably lost money on that, but there's no way I was going to send it out unless it was perfect. I've worked with brands all my life, like Vitra or Knoll or whatever. And and Tonnet and so on, and Tolix and you name it. And I suddenly discovered a whole world of brands out there that I'd never heard of. So Beaumont chairs or Mulca chairs, or, I remember, I'm so embarrassed because I went to that fair in France, Avignon Fair, and I saw these amazing chairs, and I said to the guy, I love those. What are they? So they're multiples. And I was like, what are they? And he said, you don't know multiples, and you're in the vintage business. I said, I felt so embarrassed. But it's like, there's such rich stories. So our little tagline is we are champions of the forgotten makers. And I never have the time, but I tried to tell the story of all those amazing producers and factories that some still go, some still trade, some have disappeared, but that heritage and history. The biggest satisfaction I get, it's not financial satisfaction. I'm not motivated by money at all. It's that satisfaction that someone says, I love what I've bought. And we get so many emails, oh, they turned up, we love them, can we have another 2 more? And I can almost guarantee you we will sell that to a New York loft apartment. Someone will put it, in the corner, and then maybe they'll make it into a bar, or we'll sell it to a crazy restaurant or something like that. My house is my happy place. It's my safe place. It's where I, re-energize and work. I have to say, it's my happy place as well. But, I get a huge amount of energy out of my home because I'm surrounded by things every day, whether it's a glass that I drink out of, or a spoon, or the table I sit at. I have a Saran table. It gives me pleasure. And for me, that's really important. And that's just a massive thing for me. And whether it's my jeans I put on, or all those little things make your life fun, and happy and pleasurable. And my advice is you can't rush that. You have to, and, we've got, so for example, I'll give you a good example. Oh, I know, it's a bit stereotypical, but I've got a lovely Eames rocker that I bought 20 years ago. I got a bonus when I was at House of Fraser, and I was like, how am I going to mark that? And I went out and bought myself an Eames rocker, and okay, I'm not going to tell you how much my bonus was, but the chair I remember was 1,500 quid, and that was my treat. But every time, I've kept that chair, and I will never sell that chair because it's an original, it's got all the original bits, it's spectacular. But I remember that. I remember I had a great year and all the memories that come with it. And I think fill your house with the things that have those memories and so on, rather than going down to a high street chain and just buying something because, buy what you love. And the big thing with vintage is, and I read this somewhere and I love it, nothing haunts you like the vintage you didn't buy. And I remember a coat rack with my wife. We were in Belgium, 1930s coat rack, 20 years ago or something, and we didn't buy it. And I still remember it, and I wish I'd bought it because it was so special. So if you love it, buy it.